Hello, my name is Kat. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing an unhaul. They're grouped into three categories. Books I read, but I think other people would like more. Books that I did not finish. And books that I hated. So let's start with the nicest category first. These are books I think other people would like more. So here is On a Wicked Dream by Stephanie Lawrence. This is a Regency romance that was written in 2002. I think it is wildly outdated. However, it was fun to read. So I think when I donate this to my local street library, someone else that likes romance might get a kick out of it as well. I also have Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell, drawn by Erin Hicks. This was so cute and fall themed, nothing above average for me, and I think some other potentially younger readers than I could get a really great time out of this book. And the last one in this category is 77 by Guillermo Saccomanno. So this is following a gay university literature professor as he is remembering 1977 and the horrible times in his country where people were being disappeared and beaten up and just killed for no reason other than to keep government control. And I thought that I would enjoy this more than I did. It was more political and talking about names and places and political movements than I wanted. However, this is not going to a street library. This is going on my husband's shelf because I think that he might like this more than I did because he is into politics, into history, and has traveled in South America extensively. So I think this might be perfect for him. So just because it didn't gel with me doesn't mean he won't like it. So next up, I have actually 4 books in the DNF pile. We'll start with the one that I just thought of. This is Asylum by Helen Tyler, I believe. I just today gave this to an aunt of mine. So this one I did not finish because this is documenting immigrants' experience in the Australian immigration process, and the first chapter was just so violent and bloody and just utterly full of despair that I couldn't continue on. It was going to put me in such a bad headspace. There's something about it being true and knowing that this happened to real people. It's recounting real torture and real pain of these people. It's completely different to reading horror or something where you know that it was all fictional. This was so heartbreaking and I just couldn't continue on, but I wanted to pass it along because it's very powerful. So it will be living in my aunt's library and hopefully she will be able to make her way through. So the next one that I DNF'd is Man Tiger by Kurniawan. This I had such high hopes for. So this is an Indonesian author and we are following a man in an Indonesian village who sometimes a supernatural female white tiger comes out of his body. And that's what happens one day when he murders one of his neighbors and things go from there. So I was so excited. And the beginning of this book was quite good because it is the actual murder and the female white tiger. But then for some reason, after that, the author goes all the way back in time and is telling you everything before that happened. So I really feel like this book was written chronologically and then the best part, which is the end, was just taken out and put at the beginning. And I was like, why am I gonna continue on reading here? Because I don't care what happened in the past. You already told me the most exciting part. So I was so bored. I kept falling asleep reading this book. So it's just not for me, but hopefully someone else might jive with the writing style or might like that way of storytelling better than I did. So next up is one that I'm sure is going to be controversial. This is a DNF and this is Such a Fun Age by Reid. So I read this months and months ago before the reading rush controversy and before like the newer book clubs had picked it up to read it, or I should say I attempted to read it. So this is following a young black woman who is a nanny for this white family, and one evening the family has a brick thrown through their window and they ask her if she can take their young daughter to a local store while they deal with the police. And while she is in the store with the young white child, the authorities are called on her because someone thinks that she kidnapped the child. So I thought that it was going to be more about that. But then right after that instance, it more focused on drama between her and her boyfriend and stuff in her life. And I really didn't find it that interesting. And I know that a lot of people really love this book, but I just couldn't get past that part where it's like friend drama, partying, drinking, about her boyfriend. I just don't care, and I just don't want to read it. So unfortunately, this was a DNF for me. So yeah, this will go into the street library, and I'm sure someone will pick it up. The last one in the DNF section is In Other Worlds by Margaret Atwood. So this was blurbed to me as a collection of essays by Atwood about elements of sci-fi writing, storytelling, and basically being an author in the sci-fi community. However, I read, how many did I? I read 50 pages, and it is her comparing her playing with childhood toys to building sci-fi worlds. And I made that sound possibly more interesting than it was. It was so boring. And also, other parts of this are so heavily academic that they are borderline pretentious / I can't understand what she's talking about. And I was just so bored and didn't understand. It's very obscure things that she's talking about. So between those very dry chapters and then chapters about her childhood, which I honestly don't really care about, I'm just gonna call it good, because this was my nonfiction bedside book for a while and I just kept falling asleep. So it's not for me. However, this one is another one that I'm putting on my husband's shelf and that he might pick up before I donate. Okay, so now we are to the last 3 books. These are books which I hate, and I'm very confident in saying that because just looking at them makes me want to rage about them. So I'm not gonna belabor the point here. Don't pick these books up. So this is No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. This is a Japanese classic, but when I read it, it is really just one just horrible man who never grew up, is addicted to drugs and alcohol, treats every single woman in his life horribly. I couldn't stand it. Honestly, it's garbage to me. And I have heard from other people that the manga, which is No Longer Human, is actually told in a different way and doesn't really follow this storyline. So maybe read that, but definitely don't read this. This was a waste of my time and I'm like still angry about it. All right, and then this one is Toddler-Hunting and Other Stories. I'm particularly bitter about this one because it took me so long to order this and so long for it to get to Australia, and when I got it, I was so happy and overjoyed, and then my hope was just crushed. So this is a collection of short stories by Taeko, and I knew that one of these stories followed a woman who went toddler hunting, where she wanted to buy clothes for toddlers and then watch them get dressed and undressed. And it sounds sexual, but it really wasn't. She just had this fascination with toddler clothes. So that one was creepy. And a lot of the stories in here are definitely creepy, I give it that. However, one particular story in here was so distasteful. It focused on a man who has a hump on his back, and the main character is just obsessed with him and calls him the Hunchback, even though she knows his real name. And there are other elements in here which just have gross examples of ableism and fetishization of disabled people that I just couldn't in like good faith recommend this to anyone. I completely don't recommend, like, do not put your money towards this. There are so many great other creepy Japanese female writers out there. For instance, please go read Yoko Ogawa, The Diving Pool, if you want something creepy, or Out by Natsuo Kirino. Like, there are so many choices. This is not it. And the last one I recently talked about in my September wrap-up. This is A Legend of the Future by Agustin de Rojas. This was my least favorite book of the month of September because the formatting in here and the style of writing was so confusing that it made me not care about anything or anyone. So the author doesn't differentiate between which character we are with. One sentence could be one character, one sentence could be another, and also internal dialogue and external dialogue are not differentiated, so you're never sure who is talking and if they're talking out loud or thinking in their own mind. It was so confusing. And to the reviewer out there who told me that the end would be worth the suffering, disagree. We will just disagree completely and leave it at that. Okay, so this is definitely going in the neighborhood library. I couldn't even, like, I don't even want my husband to try to read this. It would just be a waste of time. So, yeah. That finishes up my unhaul. I do feel pretty strongly that I can safely give away these books and not feel bad at all. I regularly do purge my shelves because I'm trying to just keep the ones that I really like and would recommend to people. Yeah, and that is my unhaul. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which one of these sound like the most trash to you? So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will chat to you guys all in the comments down below. Bye!